welcome to another marketing strategy session. And today I have Marketing Harry on the line with me. And this is going to be exciting. So Harry, welcome to the show and thanks for contributing.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's a pleasure having me.
Let me start this off with sharing my screen. All right, so I am sharing my screen to an Instagram account. An Instagram account that is unlike no other. I don't know. But if you pop this up and then you see the vital business skill, and then it moves on to the next marketing message, and it goes to teach you with checklists how to market your business. And he's using Instagram posts to create an actual storyboard on how to market your business. If you're not saying wow right now, I don't know what's wrong with you. That is so wowing. Harry, what brought this concept to you?
So that's a great question, Jeff. This concept has first been popularized by Chris Do. I'm sure most of your audience has heard him. His mission is to impact 1 billion designers and teach them the importance of business. Because I'm not only a digital marketing specialist, which prioritizes in social media marketing, but I'm a business owner myself. I know the importance of basic business practices, not only in marketing, not only in social media, but in life as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I truly value the importance of having something that is easy to consume, as you showcased in my content, and yet extremely practical and valuable for my audience. In fact, I think this is the one key insight that has allowed me to grow this Instagram account to more than 5,500 followers in less than 45 days.
Wow. And you know, the interesting thing about it, at first glance, it's like the images that you use, the actual message, how to talk to clients, and you click it and you see a great image. All right. So you have the message, how to talk to clients. And the first thing I looked at, I was like, oh, great graphic, great font. I looked at that aspect. But then I dove into it a little more and I messed around and clicked the arrow. And I'm like, wow, another message. So I read it. Then another one. And I started realizing you are literally taking me down an actual marketing path, an actual consult where you're teaching me through images. The images are catching my attention, but the words, the marketing message is there. And then you summarize it at the end. And even to make it even better, I noticed on your post, even at the bottom, where you have your tagline and you have an actual replica of call to action, like, share, comment at the bottom. And I was like, this is well thought out. I mean, more than just what most of us are doing with just posting a couple of pictures up, maybe shooting a video or two, and it's more for, I would say, social vanity than it is for actually delivering value and delivering a message in a way that's retainable.
Exactly. And because one of the most important things for social media, and especially for business owners in social media, is to realize that their place actually isn't on these platforms. The goal of social media in the beginning was to create a way for people, for users, for everyday people to connect with each other. So I send you a friend request, I see a picture of your family, we interact. But because these platforms obviously need a way to monetize, advertisers came into the game. And most businesses are still making the same mistake of intruding the user experience of the audience and not enriching it by adding more value to it. That's why one of the most important things for Instagram in specific is to make your content visually appealing. Instagram is a platform that is based specifically on imagery, and you need to make sure you have strong imagery when you're delivering your message. Otherwise, it will be left unheard.
Okay. Yeah.
And another one of my mantras, if you allow me to just quick add it, is that it's way better to whisper in a crowded marketplace instead of adding to the shouting. So I definitely recommend every single business owner to find his style, find what type of content their audience loves consuming, and then whispering, because that's the most effective way to communicate in a crowded marketplace.
Now, you brought up a great point that I definitely myself struggle with, and that is finding your style. How did you find your style? Because I'm gonna be honest, I looked at a few different things and I was like, oh yes, I want to have my brand look this way and that way. I came across yours, and I'm gonna be honest, I was like, wow, I want to change my brand to look like this. I mean, and I know that this is not something that's like, I wouldn't say easy. This isn't something that just anybody can do. It takes a little bit of thought and skill to put together the type of pieces that you put together. But, how did you come up with, or what recommendations would you give to defining what your look, your brand, or your voice is going to be?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most frequent questions I personally receive as well. If you quickly allow me, I'd love to share my screen and open a whiteboard in Zoom so I can demonstrate a diagram really quickly.
Definitely.
So I think there are several important steps before reaching a conclusion what your brand needs to look like. One of the most important things to understand before actually beginning any kind of creative process is understanding that you are actually creating for the audience, not for yourself.
Okay.
So your business needs to directly communicate with your target audience, not for your specific preference. So my personal style, my personal brand does not only look good for me personally, but I have surveyed an extensive list of my clients as well as potential leads in order to determine if this really is the best fit for the marketplace.
Okay.
Another key thing that I like to quickly mention and actually draw out is the several spheres of importance. One of them is obviously the product and the audience. So one of the spheres of importance that needs to be taken into consideration when creating a personal or whatever kind of brand is what audience is this brand serving.
Okay.
The second sphere of importance would be the marketplace in which the specific brand is positioned.
Okay.
So what are my competitors doing? What are their messaging? What are their visual styles? You need to have a good understanding of your competition, of your audience, in order to be able to determine what your brand should really look and sound like.
Okay.
So the combination of both of these mechanisms allows you to create one brand that is first really memorable and secondly really powerful in the long term.
Okay. Now, how do you get from now, especially when you start looking at the marketplace, how do you get from the temptation of being a clone? I mean, because as you're looking at your competitors and you're looking at what they're doing, it kind of makes you want to mimic what they're doing. And let me elaborate, mimic it based off of perceived success. So
Yeah.
we may say, well, this person is doing great, but we don't know that they have a massive email list. And the reason they're getting the amount of shares and likes and so forth is because they're in their ecosystem, they have other things contributing to that and not just their social posts. So how do you get out of, like, I'll name some well-known names. You have Gary Vee, you have Grant Cardone, you have these guys that have big success in the marketing field in our marketplace, but they have other factors in play as well that contributes to the amount of success they have in certain platforms.
Well, obviously, as you mentioned, Jeff, this is a psychological factor that a lot of us actually possess. We love comparing ourselves to others. We have $5, but if our neighbor has 6, we would be miserable, even if these $5 are extremely valuable. One of the most important things, as you mentioned, is understanding the factors that form the success of a single person in social media. I'd pretty much summarize social media in two main ways. So if this circle is our social media, I'll quickly add a line, social media. I'd pretty much break it into two spheres, which are identical. One of them is paid. Okay. The other one is organic.
Okay.
We need to understand all of the touch points that form both the paid social media and the organic social media. So advertisement, shoutouts, influencer marketing, these are all paid methods of communicating in social media. Okay. Whilst the organic ones can be, for example, in Instagram, Explorer page, hashtags, content that gets viral and gets featured in other pages. These are all organic ways of communicating in social media. So both of these form the social media sphere that we are aware of. And in order to first be able to have a brand that is easily communicatable in social media, and secondly, not fall victim to the comparison bias, we need to be aware of both of these touch points.
Okay. Okay.
Another thing that I'd like to bring up to just round up the question and leave a strong memory is, if we want to succeed and be so I would like to start again. If we'd like to reach success in branding and in marketing in general, we need to be top of mind for our audience. Yes. So everyone in its own mind has a list of brands that they associate with a given category. For example, when we think of toilet paper, we immediately list in our minds, subconsciously or consciously, several brands. Usually the top 3 brands are the most powerful ones. Mm-hmm. The goal of any marketing expert, both traditionally and digitally, should be to position their brand top of mind. So they should be the first to come up when a user thinks of a given category.
Yeah.
In order to achieve the top of mind status, we need to be unique. We need to be different. And there is another marketing concept that I'd like to quickly bring up.
Okay.
So that's the bell curve.
Okay.
That's basically this. You can also look at it as a snake that has eaten an elephant. So the elephant is in the belly. There are 3 basic things that this bell curve can tell us. Okay. There are people who are in the beginning of the bell curve, and they are called early adopters.
Yeah.
So these are the people that are constantly looking for innovation. They're constantly looking for new brands, new products, new services of all categories. Okay. Then in the middle, we have obviously the masses. So this is the average Joe. And finally, we have the so-called waggers. These are the people that basically fall behind in the marketplace. Every single stage of the bell curve, obviously new categories start the bell curve from the beginning, old categories are somewhere in the end. So every single stage, the early adoption stage, the average Joe, the waggers, requires a different strategy. The main thing is to realize in which stage your current niche is and act accordingly. If I want to position myself as the next social media guru that spreads knowledge similarly to Gary Vee, I'd probably have an entirely different strategy than the one that Gary Vee has in order to be unique enough for the marketplace, in order to be contradictory. Because the worst thing that can happen in marketing is being average. Averages don't get remembered. Only great and the worst get remembered by the human mind.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely true. So when you're in these three stages, so you start with the early adopters. Um, do you do a lot of like paid testing to see who's catching on, and then that moves you to the average Joes based on what catches and what doesn't, or is it a different method to that?
Yeah. So I personally, for the clients that I have managed, I always use paid media because that's the fastest way to get results. I've been actively advertising for companies such as Hopel, so a large real estate company in Canada. I've worked with companies such as UNICEF, FEMA. I've also helped Cambridge Coaching. So all of these big companies, they definitely use paid sources in order to generate, as mentioned in our last diagram, in order to take full advantage of the social media world.
Okay.
Because social media marketing is paid and organic.
Mm-hmm.
For my personal profile, which got to more than 5,500 followers in less than 45 days, I've not used any kind of paid sources. I've only grown organically.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow. And would you think that that comes with, like, is it the visual? I mean, definitely Instagram is visual, but is it the style of graphics that you used, or more of after the graphics, the messaging resonated to where people shared it um, even more and more and wanted to follow from that point?
That's a great question again, Jeff. Instagram in specific has several metrics that I like to look at, and most of the business owners should look at as well. Likes, comments, obviously, shares.
Okay.
Apologize my drawing, not an artist, and saves. These are the metrics that you as a creator can actively monitor, as well as reach and impressions. But these are the engagement metrics. People have to take action in order to generate them.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, Instagram is trying to get rid of likes.
Mm-hmm.
Only some European countries have them still active. So this means that a person cannot be influenced by social proof, which basically means that people flock to things that others like. If I like a specific kind of brand, people are most likely to like that specific brand as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is social proof. In order to get rid of it, and because likes are considered a kind of vanity metrics, so a lot of people can manipulate them with paid sources such as advertising, which is completely legal, but also with some kind of black hat sources like engagement groups and paid bot followers. Likes are getting removed, which leaves comments, shares, and saves.
Okay.
And in my opinion, the thing that has allowed me to grow the most is focusing on the right metrics. For me, the right metrics are saves, comments, and saves.
Okay.
The shares basically tells you, is your content good enough for people to want to share it with their own followers?
Okay.
You want to portray yourself in a given fashion, in a given way, in front of your audience. So you share only stuff that brings value to you and helps your persona. This is called social currency.
Okay.
I only share things that will make me look educated, that will make me look inspiring, that will make me look like I'm having a good time.
Okay.
That's a positivity bias, but this is another deep topic. Comments symbolize how good you've managed your community. If you get a lot of interactions with comments, if you check my profile, you can see that almost all of my posts have a ratio 1-to-1 from likes to comments, which basically showcases to me personally that I've done a great job in interacting with the community. I've given attention to the community, and now I'm receiving attention as well. That's the easiest formula. If you give attention, you receive attention.
Okay.
And sales are basically the highest priority metric for me personally. I actually have a pretty in-depth Excel table which takes into account saves, impressions, reach, and calculates automatically the engagement rate that I'm getting based on saves specifically. Because in my opinion, saves give you the most information in terms of how valuable the content you're sharing is. And of course, there is different reasons people save a post. It could be for inspiration. The post could have been long, so people will want to look at it later on. But saves for me symbolizes high engagement and high value. So if you want to grow on social media, you need to forget about vanity metrics like likes, followers, and focus on metrics such as comments, which basically symbolizes your community. So focus on your community, focus on bringing high quality content that people want to share. So that's the shares, and focus on being consistent in the type of value that you bring to your audience. So you also get a lot of saves. That personally has allowed me to grow so exponentially. Of course, there are other factors, but I don't want to dive too deep. And
Yeah, this is definitely great information to start because not too many people talk about the saves aspect of it. A lot of people talk about likes and the vanity metrics. Um, even with comments, you have people that, have different comments come in, sharing. If you have a good cat video with the cat playing a piano or something, they're sharing it, but that doesn't mean that it's helping your business. Um, but the save aspect is something I haven't heard anybody touch on in previous talks. That's something that I don't think a lot of people even focus on when looking at marketing their social accounts.
I actually have a post that is specifically focused on sales that I can share with you after our call, so you can attach to this podcast if someone wants to dive deeper into what drives sales specifically on Instagram and how to generate more for their business.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. That would definitely be great. Now, tell me about as far as like since you've been doing it, I noticed that there was a couple of people that you gave shout outs to, um, and dealing with influencers and pretty much leveraging other influencers to help cross promote brands, things of that nature. How important is that, and how do you typically approach it?
Yeah. So most important thing on social media is being social, obviously. It doesn't matter if you're a personal brand, it doesn't matter if you're an organization or you're a small business. You have, as mentioned previously, to give attention in order to receive attention. I personally have shouted out only 2 creators in my journey so far, and these are creators that have touched me specifically um, in areas that I believe they are exceptional at. One
Okay.
of them is a phenomenal designer, which honestly is so much better than I ever will be. And the other one is a phenomenal storyteller that manages to capture the attention in such a way and tell you a story in such a captivating way that you're left hungry for more. And honestly, this is the best kind of content marketing.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the one. And now, as far as the graphics, wow, if he's better than what you've shown. I'm anxious to see what he has. I know there was one. I think it was named Branding Bob. Was it Branding
There is a branding Sam. We
Branding?
collaborated. Yeah, we actually collaborated together. It was a phenomenal collaboration because he's such a specialist in his area of expertise, branding.
Yeah.
So he's definitely a creator that is worth checking out.
Yes. And I'm sorry, Branding Sam. I wasn't looking at the post at the time, but I did catch it was branding. I was like, oh, Marketing Harry and Branding Sam. So that is definitely great. But I've seen that you've worked with your content pieces have been well thought out. I mean, not like I said, not just the traditional just photo or photo with a one line caption. It's been an actual journey. I mean, you literally go from one photo to the next, and you go through a journey that tells the story and offers a resource. I was very impressed with the checklist that you're looking at, and you're saying, "Oh, okay. So if I want to increase my followership, here's a checklist. Let me look at it." And that goes back to what you were talking about with the valuable content and the save. That's something I would definitely save to look at ongoing, just in case you might take it down one day.
Exactly. And something that is extremely specific to what you're noticing is actually the model that I'm using on which to base all of my content on. It doesn't matter if you're trying to create carousels, it doesn't matter if you're trying to create video content. This is a pretty well-known principle, but taken to social media marketing, it's increasingly powerful. It's called IDA. I'm sure most of your audience has heard it, but it basically means attention, interest, detail, and action. So every single post of mine uses the AIDA model, and if I can start drawing once again, every single slide is basically a part of the model.
Mm-hmm.
I try to base them based on consumer sentiment. So basically, the more the audience engages, the higher the likelihood that they are going to stay engaged. Is a person that only reads my headline and passes on won't read a 10 page checklist. That's why I always try to start with low engagement and build interest before I get into details and I ask for action. I hope this makes sense.
Yes.
So my first slides are based on attention. So A, captivating the attention with a headline that follows basic and well-known structures such as how to, steal, strategy, my process. These are all power words that capture the attention of the audience. Then I build interest. So based on the type of post that I'm doing, the interest slides could be variable from 2 to all the way to 6.
Okay.
And then I end up with details and action.
Okay.
This allows me to convert the attention that I have generated into interest. People want to know more, and then give them the juicy details that will simulate sharing and saving the post, and ending up with a strong call to action that will increase my engagement rate.
Okay.
As mentioned, it doesn't matter if this is going to be implemented in carousels or in video content. What matters is understanding the customer journey. You need to capture the attention, you need to build interest, you need to dive into details, and you need to have a strong call to action. As mentioned, you can create videos with this, you can create copy with this, you can base your whole social media strategy around this, and it will work.
Makes sense. Definitely makes sense. And it's an age-old marketing method that still works. So even though, it's different as far as mediums that we use, it's still the same principle from back in primitive advertisement. So in marketing. So that is great. Now, when it comes to preparing this content, this type of content, this is one of those is Superman. Do you typically take it on all yourself, or do you have a team that specializes in different aspects of the creation process?
Yeah. So for my clients that I work with in my social media agency, I have a team of 3 people. Some of them specialize in content creation, others specialize in engagement, basically everything that is needed for a social media campaign.
Okay.
My personal brand is 100% me. Every comment that I've answered, every GM that I've answered, every post that I've made, every caption that I've written has been directly from me.
Okay.
It's quite exhausting, especially in the beginning when you do not have the processes set in place.
Mm-hmm.
But currently I've managed to bring everything down to a couple of hours, which manages me to give me basically the freedom that I need to operate multiple businesses, also study, and of course, develop my personal brand.
Okay. Okay. And so you actually slot out time specifically for this, um, and you work it into your daily routine. Do you uh, take the day-to-day approach, or more of a batch model to say I'll put out X amount of content over this amount of days, so I need to create, let's say, 10 posts for the month, and I'll create these 10 posts in one day and then be done with it, or is day to day? And then the second question on that would be frequency. How much is enough and how much is too much when it comes to social media?
Yeah. So in terms of the approach, actually Dave Tallis, the Instagram doctor, as they call him, did a post on this recently. I'm not sure if I will do such a good job of explaining it as he did, but there are benefits and negative aspects to both approaches. I personally like to optimize my workflow, which means batching up my work. So batching up the copywriting of a single post, batching up the picture selection of a single post, scheduling the ideas of a single post. So these are all processes that go into place when I'm creating my social media content, and I love to batch them up. But I love to combine it with the day-to-day approach in order to keep myself attached, emotionally attached to the given piece.
Oh,
Because if you create 10 social media posts and schedule them for the whole month, then you're not as emotionally attached to the given piece that is posted on Friday in the 3rd week of the month as if you created it today and posted it today. That way, your brain can form a connection between what you have done, so basically what type of content you've put, when you've scheduled it, and the results you've gotten.
so it goes back to being social.
Yeah, it goes back to being social, and it goes back to basic human psychology. How does our brain work? Because this is another post that I'm creating actually for tomorrow. And one of the insights in it is that social media is actually a lot more about sociology and psychology than it is about technology. We need to understand the human mind, we need to understand the human principles that go into social media, and then we need to focus on how to optimize our technical details.
Okay. So you're you're basically saying the technology is the last component, where in today's time we focus a lot on the technology and try to make it work with the marketing, because we've committed to using this particular platform or solution, and we're just going to make it work versus saying this is our plan, our strategy, our content. Now, which technology best serves that?
Yeah, just as you highlighted, I take the completely opposite approach. Most people focus on technology and then they figure out the human aspect. I know that people will be the same on different platforms. People will want valuable content. People will need to we need to capture the attention of the people. It doesn't matter on which platform. Yes, there are some specifics that change. For example, TikTok requires a whole different type of content than on LinkedIn. But
Yeah.
if you understand the human principles and the psychology behind our actions, then everything gets streamlined and you can figure out the specifics of every single platform. There is actually a pretty good analogy that I like to give, that social media platforms are like languages. They are different, they have different dialects, but the basic structure of the language is the same. They have sentences, so basically posts, content.
Mm-hmm.
They have words, so engagement, because social media is about being social. And the way you speak a given language is the same. You use your mouth in most cases. Of course, there is sign language and so on, but you speak, you use sentences, and you use words. Every social media is different language or a different dialect, because some social medias are pretty much the same, like Snapchat, for example, has a lot of similarities with TikTok.
Yeah.
But we need to learn what are the basic structures of a given language and then think about the specifics of the language itself.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. So instead of chasing, I guess, the trending viral posts, um, you basically breaking it down to say, okay, this is the psychology of people, and based on that, these are the type posts that I'm going to post and how I look at interacting. Um, versus, of course, somebody's doing a dance, so I'm going to start dancing in my next post, and somebody else is rapping or singing a song, so I need to rap or sing my version of social media um, to get those eyeballs and so forth. So that goes back to a lot of times what I like to talk with my clients about when building out marketing strategies is you have to first understand your audience, their needs, how you benefit, and then how you want to communicate that benefit versus I just want to be, like I always say, chasing Amazon. I just want to, they did this, I need to do this as well. Because it's a lot of factors you might not know about. So that's great information. Now you were talking about your team, and we're coming up on the hour. So tell us more about how people can contact your team, how they can work with you. What is a process with dealing with a social media agency, and of course, how they can get in contact with you if they need your services.
Thank you for the ability to showcase my services, Jeff. The main thing with my agency, the difference from most is the fact that I operate strictly with wait lists. So I do not take every single client. I have specific niches in which I and my team excel in, which are info products and e-commerce. And honestly, currently I'm not looking for any client work at all. My goal with my Instagram account and my personal brand is to bring as much value from a place of abundance that I am in currently, and be able to bring some genuine relationships to the social media world. Because a theme that is recurring in our conversation today is that social media is about being social. And if you are a business that is struggling and is creating posts every day on social media from a place of scarcity, from a place that they need to get that client from that social media post, people will sniff you out. We are a great lie detectors. We've evolved to be lie detectors. And if you're not authentic, if you're not genuine, if you're not consistent with your brand, people will understand that. And your number one priority should be to understand your goals, understand your brand, understand your audience, and make sure you're as authentic to all of these elements as possible. So if I can take the time that you've given me for a shout out and use it as a most productive way, I'd say to anyone trying to develop a business to be patient, come from a place of abundance, not from scarcity,
Okay.
and serve others, because when you give, you receive.
Yes, that's so true. That is so true. And I thank you so much for your contribution. This has taught me a lot. And I know that it's going to teach a lot of the viewers a lot, because it is coming from a different place. It's not coming from the traditional, I would say, jargons of social media. And this is how you get likes and these vanity metrics. And this is, you know, get your numbers up to this amount and so forth. It's saying, okay, if you're strategically approaching this, these are some factors that you want to put in mind. And here's some marketing mentalities and mindsets that you want to put into place that helps you develop better content, and to socialize, to actually build relationships with your audience, which in a lot of times, especially in business, we don't do. We don't build relationships with our audience because we're so busy, like you say, yelling in a crowded marketplace instead of just whispering.
Exactly.
So, well, everybody, thank you so much for attending. I would like to personally thank Marketing Harry for this abundance of information. And if you are interested in following him, definitely help him get his numbers up on Instagram with Marketing Harry is his handle. And look at some of those amazing posts that he has up. And not only look at the graphics, because the graphics do catch your attention, but read the message, because I'm gonna be honest, out of the majority of posts that I've looked at over the years, I have not seen too many people walk you through an actual, I would say, session in their post, especially since they are not video. It's like you literally are learning from images in a very strategic way. And that's unique in its own right. So I encourage everybody to go look at it, enjoy it, comment, let him know what you feel, and save. And if you really like it, share it. So this is the marketing strategy session. And I, once again, thank you for being on.